We are kicking off our 13th season here. We're really excited to be welcoming Executive Director Betsy Maher of Save the Dunes here to give us a little looking forward forecast of Save the Dunes 2025. But I just let everyone know here on both Zoom and Facebook Live. Thank you for logging on and joining us tonight. The meeting is being recorded, so please remain muted and leave any questions or comments in the chat, which will be answered at the end. Or if you're watching on Facebook Live, please leave all your comments or questions in the comments below the video, and we'll get to those as well at the end. So, Nancy.
Okay, I would like to say a little something about starting our 13th year, if I can do that, Em.
Of course, go ahead.
I really want to celebrate that we've been meeting together for 12 years and we're going into 13 now. And I just wanted to share just a tidbit about our first meeting. It was on the Enbridge pipeline expansion, which was going through Northwest Indiana. And Save the Dunes played a very active part in getting that line diverted around some ponds and wetlands and small lakes. So we were champions back then in protecting the watershed that flows into Lake Michigan. We met at Shoreline Brewery. We had over 60 people. We filled up the room. Some people were sitting outside. And I want to really acknowledge the News Dispatch because they gave us front page coverage for the announcement the event was happening, and then they reported on the event afterwards. So that's a little bit of history that I think a lot of people may not be aware of, and just really proud of all of the people that have worked with us through all the years to make this a success. I want to mention who our co-sponsors are. It's Save the Dunes, Michigan City Sustainability Commission, and we're supported by Northwest Indiana Region Resilience. Tonight's guest hosts are 95.1 FM, AM 1420 WIMS radio, 219 Green Connect. And without the help of all of these people working together, these would not be happening. So thank you. And Betsy, I'm so glad you're here with us this evening. This is another tradition. We always have somebody from Save the Dunes, and we really like having our executive director come and speak with us directly. I was part of the search committee that looked for Betsy, and we offered her the position, and we were just holding our breath because we really wanted her to come to Save the Dunes, which is headquartered here in Michigan City. And I'll just have to say I'm extremely proud of what she, her staff, and our board have accomplished in what I look upon as 3 short years. So I'm going to hand it over to her because I know that she's going to do a much better job of bringing you up to date with what happened last year and where we're headed in the future. And it looks very exciting to me. So Betsy, thank you so very much.
Thank you so much, Nancy, for that kind introduction. And thank you everybody for joining us tonight. 13 years is something to be very proud of for Northwest Indiana Green Drinks. And I know that Nancy has been part of that from the beginning, and Em has done a fantastic job of facilitating these over the past year or two. So really happy to be here with everybody tonight. So let me share my screen and we can get started. I think, can you see, is it correct? Can you see the little people too? Or here, I'm going to move this to this side. Okay. I think we're all good. All right. So let me get started. I'm going to talk about the big things that are happening here at Save the Dunes. So for the agenda, let's see if I can advance my slides. Okay. So I'm going to just give a brief overview of Save the Dunes and what we do and where we work. Then I'm going to do a recap of sort of the big accomplishments of this past year, which we're then piggybacking off of and are launching into some even bigger things for 2025. And I'll finish up with how you can get involved. So pretty simple agenda for tonight, but lots of exciting things to share. So just to make sure we're all starting at the beginning here, Save the Dunes, our mission is protect, to protect and advocate for the Indiana Dunes, Lake Michigan, and the surrounding natural areas. And we do that for the health and vitality of not just the environment, but also the people who live, work, and recreate in Northwest Indiana. So we work in Lake Porter in LaPorte County. So as Nancy said, we're based in Michigan City. Can you guys see my cursor when I circle things?
No,
Maybe not.
I can't see it. No.
Okay, I will just speak to what I'm pointing at then. Or maybe it's on this page. Okay, well, we're based in Michigan City, but we serve all of the counties that have dunes. So that's the simplest way to think about it. The area that hugs Lake Michigan. And I always like showing this map. This is a map of the Indiana Dunes National Park. And just to give you a very, very brief history of Save the Dunes, we got started in 1952, and it was to advocate for an Indiana Dunes National Park to protect the Indiana Dunes. And at the same time, there were bills to introduce a port of Indiana. So it was hills versus mills, port versus park. It was going to be one or the other until President Kennedy was in office at the time, said, okay, enough. We're going to do both of these things. So in 1966, both the National Lakeshore was created, and then the Port of Indiana, which is that central tan area right in smack dab in the middle of the park. So we have such a unique ecosystem and national park to be protecting, because we are literally surrounded by industry on both the east and west side of the park, but we also have industry right smack dab in the middle of the park. And we also have coastal communities that are nestled within the park. And it's an urban park. We're butting right up against several urban areas, Gary, Michigan City. So there are really complex threats to the park, and that is what Save the Dunes focuses. It is on the threats to the park, to the dunes, and how to address those threats. One other thing I like to point out when looking at this map is how much border there is of the park. When you look at a place like Yellowstone, it's more of a box, right? We've got lots of zigs and zags, and so that creates an extremely fragmented environment and requires close collaboration with neighboring landowners to make sure that we can create healthy habitat both in the park, but just outside of the park as well, and in these areas where they're not always connected. So that is a key role that Save the Dunes plays as well. So let me take you through some of the really exciting things that happened in the past year as we worked to protect and advocate for the dunes. Some of you may be familiar with the Tolston Dunes in the national park. They're located just on the other side of the highway by West Beach, to kind of orient you. So this is a before and after picture of some of the restoration work that we funded at Tolston Dunes. Those shiny plants that you see bunched up in front of everybody, those are the after clippings of invasive autumn olive. And if you look closely at the other picture, you can see that they grow pretty tall and extensively throughout the dunes. So we had a big project where we came out and actually got our hands dirty and did this work. But we also funded all the folks that you see in orange were positions that got funded through this project and have been critical to advancing some of the restoration work happening at the park. This was one of those collaborative projects also with neighboring partners, including Shirley Hines Land Trust and NIPSCO, who have rights of way just near this area. So collectively, a lot of restoration work got done through these dollars. Another big project that we've been partnering with, actually a lot of those same partners, is along the East Branch of the Little Calumet River. So we have been working over the last several years to clear log jams along the river and make it fully accessible for recreation, paddling specifically, but also improving the habitat and the ability for plants to move in that area. Our partners, again, Shirley Hines, have been doing restoration work along this river. And quite a bit of it also goes through the national park. So again, one of those really big collaborative initiatives, takes a lot of partners to do this work. We funded the actual contract work for the large log jam clearing like you see in this picture. And I'm really happy to report that as of this year, we've got 9 miles cleared of paddleable river. And that stretches from the Heron Rookery, which is one of those non-contiguous sections you saw on the map earlier. If you look at that green line, it's where that green line kind of lands in the middle of LaPorte County. And then that goes all the way to that Port of Indiana, to the Burns Waterway. So once we address in the next year or two a portage that needs to happen around a dam, we'll pretty much have the whole river open for recreating, which is a super exciting accomplishment. And again, continuing to do work to restore the river, to improve the health of the water quality and all of the plants and animals that live there. Next, another habitat connectivity project has been working directly with NIPSCO to create habitat connectivity corridors for pollinators through their rights-of-way properties. So outside of the national park, NIPSCO is one of the largest landowners in Northwest Indiana. So they've been a key partner in helping to address some of that fragmentation. So this is a great picture of a before and after, when instead of mowing and having just non-native grass that needs regular maintenance, converting these into short and tall grass prairie ecosystems that can serve as important corridors, especially for migrating pollinators like butterflies, monarch butterflies. It's really been a significant win for our region that we have such a willing utility company to help us in these initiatives. So we like to brag that we have some of the prettiest rights of ways in the country in Northwest Indiana. So another successful project that we continued, this is funded through our Great Lakes Restoration Initiative project, which is federal appropriations. So that's one of the key projects that we advocate each year out in Washington for. Next, I wanted to highlight a really fun project that actually got started by our president, Nancy here, who's president of the board. We wanted to do something to recognize our past president, Jeanette Nagu, who was critical to picking up the baton of saving the dunes and leading as one of our presidents. And she passed away some years ago, and we wanted to have a nice tribute for her. So we decided to pair that up with one of our core programs of reducing plastic use and encouraging the community to, participate in those initiatives with us. So we did an advanced recycling initiative, and successfully and rather quickly, we're able to recycle over 1,000 pounds of plastic bags and other soft plastic films through this project. And so this is a picture of some of our volunteers building the bench, and we're going to have a ceremony next year. Probably one of the projects that I'm most excited about that we did, and it was one of those, a lot of these projects take years and years of planning and applying for federal funds. This one just kind of came out of the blue, and we decided to say yes to it, and it ended up being a really exciting project. So the national park reached out to us and asked if we would apply for this Great Lakes Odyssey. It's called Expeditions in Education, and that woman on the right is she is the leader of this, and they do this at national parks across the country. And so we received the grant, and we were able to fund a 13-day expedition across 6 national park sites in the Great Lakes, and that includes the Indiana Dunes. So pictured there is Dr. Erin Argelin, who is the mastermind behind this idea and bringing this to our region and showcasing the incredible Indiana Dunes, but also the other amazing national historic sites and parks that we have around the Great Lakes. So in total, this program reached 103 schools and 12,789 virtual students, including 134 on-site students. So it was a really, really successful program. I see they're still sharing these resources for educators. And so those numbers are just going up in terms of virtual participation. So it's one of those projects that keeps on giving. So really, really cool, a little bit different from what we have done in the past. But one of those things where we decided to, the park asked us to fill a need and we said yes, and something really special came out of that. And then last for my updates for 2024 is we made significant progress on restoring our headquarters, which is a historic building called the Barker House. So in these three pictures, you can see some of the significant improvements that we made this past year. In 2023, we launched a campaign to raise funds specifically to do updates. That porch and balcony that you see in the exterior picture were collapsed and falling down. We had some really old redbud trees that were growing right up against the building that needed to be removed. And there was just a whole host of other issues that we couldn't wait to address. We needed, the time had come. We couldn't delay any longer on updates to this building. And so we dove in hard and we successfully raised $52,000 in 1 year. And we're able to get these important updates completed so that we can preserve this historic building. The top right picture is a picture of the recently restored interior hardwood floors, which we just did in December, and the upstairs will be completed later this month. So we made interior updates as well. We got a little bit of electrical work done. The whole outside, we restained the original hardwood shingles that you see. So it just looks so beautiful. You should definitely come by and see it if you haven't. And we made significant investments into our 4 acres where this property is located. This is just one of 5 structures that are on the property. And so we also installed this beautiful pollinator demonstration garden that will be able to, that's where the bench is located that we're going to have that dedication for, and we'll be able to bring people alongside us to learn how they can plant native plants in their own yard and kind of come alongside our efforts in encouraging people to plant native plants to, again, increase that connectivity and habitat for native animals like pollinators. So very, very exciting. This was definitely a baby project for Em, who's on the call today, and we're really excited to see everything come in next spring. Okay, so that gives you a very quick summary. There was a lot of other things that happened in 2024, but I would say those are the big highlights, especially those restoration projects. Collectively, we restored 456 acres, and we diverted $365,000 to partners, including Save the Dunes, to carry out that restoration work. I would say about $150,000 of that went directly to the national park. So the amount of funding that we've been able to bring in for these projects is definitely going up, which is really exciting, and I think is a good segue for where I think things are heading for 2025. So one of the big things that's coming up for this coming year is going to be a deepened commitment and partnership specifically with the national park. We've seen a lot of success. You heard about the Great Lakes Odyssey expedition and all these long-term restoration projects that we've been partnering with the park on. And we're being introduced to and asked to assist with more of those things. And we're really excited because we're finding new sources of funding for them, and believe that the community is behind supporting this this partnership, especially since the national park is a park now, it's not just a national lakeshore. So there's more resources out there to do some of the work that needs to be done. So we're actually entering into what's called a philanthropic partnership agreement. So we'll be an official partner of the national park in not just advocating for resources, as we've always done, and going out and getting those federal appropriations, but also seeking out funds through the philanthropic community, like these private grants that have funded some of these projects. So it's really exciting. So some of the key projects that we already have lined up for this coming year with the national park. One, this is a privately funded project, is restoration work at Miller Woods. So US Steel is neighboring to the Miller Woods area of the national park, and they have what's called a buffer zone between their Gary Works facility and the park. And you can see in this picture to the right, that is national park property, and that is already treated wetlands habitat. And you can see it's very clean. It's very, it's already restored. And then you see the fence line, which is where US Steel's property starts. And then you've got all these invasive Phragmites and other wetland invasives that are just on the other side of the border. So it's going to be so huge that we get to address the seed bank that's in this buffer zone, and not just reduce the chances of those invasives coming into the side of the national park, but also just increasing the habitat holistically, even onto the Gary Works property for the migrating species and other things that utilize this space. So we're very, very excited that US Steel has stepped forward to fund this project, which we expect to get underway this coming year. Another big project we have lined up with the national park is a plastic reduction project for vendors, but also a community outreach component. This picture that you see with the litter is a picture that we snapped at Marquette Greenway at one of our beach cleanups last year. Plastics are a real challenge for the national park and all the dunes, and lakefront along our Great Lakes. It is, they wash ashore, but also a lot of people bring in plastics when they're recreating in the dunes. So this project is geared at reaching the no plastics goal for all national parks by 2030. And so we're getting ahead of that and working directly with the park on a plan that addresses how plastics get into the park, including through their vendors. And then also, like I said, an outreach campaign for visitors. So we reduce the amount of plastic coming in, and we pack in and pack out. So on the right, you can see a picture. We hosted our Dune Stash race earlier last year at the park, and we had our own zero plastic waste, goal for that project. So instead of handing out plastic water bottles, you can see we handed out reusable water bottles that hopefully people will continue to use and bring to the dunes. We had a before and after analysis of our race, and they only found one piece of plastic on the race course after our race. So I think it was a really, really successful event in that sense, that our messaging worked. We were able to weave that into having a great time and having a regular race in the park. So that's one project. Another exciting project we have underway is increasing the amount of accessible equipment so that everyone can enjoy the beauty of the dunes. So we have received a grant to purchase accessible wheelchairs. So you can see an example of that on the right. For the park, we're also purchasing accessible kayaks, like tandem kayaks, so people can be taken out on the East Branch and other areas of the park for recreating, that can be rented out or used for special occasions. So there's several other things that come along with that accessibility project. So very excited about all of these initiatives with the park. We'll also continue to advocate for park resources, as I said, at the federal level. And we're actually adding a second visit out to Washington. So we're the Indiana state lead for the Healing Our Waters Coalition. So we go out every single year to Washington and advocate for resources for the Great Lakes and that benefit our Indiana dunes specifically. But we're going to be increasing the amount of advocacy that we do for the park specifically. There are funds like the Great American Outdoors Act, which fund the restoration of structures like what you see in this picture. It's the Century of Progress building, which is currently under renovations. So all the exteriors of that building, the Bailey Homestead, and the Camp Goodfellow Lodge, which are all located in the national park, are funded through GOA, which is Great American Outdoors Act. And so there's another round of funding available. So it's things like that where, again, it's not just the philanthropic community, there's also needs to go advocate for these resources for the park. So we're going to be doing that this coming year. We will also have a decision on our administrative appeal with DNR. So that's the Department of Natural Resources, who is responsible for protecting the coastline, essentially. So the shoreline, I should say. So if you see in this diagram, there's something called the natural ordinary high water mark, and that is where vegetation and shelving takes place. And anything upland of that is considered private property and it can be developed. But anything below that mark, all the way down to the waters of Lake Michigan, is public and cannot be developed. And so something that Save the Dunes has done for many, many years is defended the public trust. And if there is development happening below that ordinary high water mark, we are there to say, no, this is a public space and that it can't be used for private interests. And that can be quite contentious at times, but we feel it's very important to keep our beaches natural, or as natural as they can be, so that the dunes can form and so that we can have the greatest resource of our state, which is our shoreline. We are the #1 tourist destination in the entire state of Indiana. So it's important that we think about the long term of these things. So we currently have a case before the Natural Resource Commission, which oversees DNR, and they are going to make a decision on an active case that we have. This is a picture of Ogden Dunes, which is where this particular appeal is taking place. So stay tuned. I mean, it's a big deal that, I think that the judge we made a very compelling case and the judge will hopefully come down on our side, but you just don't know with these things. And so we'll have a decision later this year. Okay, just a couple more highlights. There was a really exciting announcement for those of you who are, following along in the conservation community about what's happening. You may have already heard about this, but Shirley Hines Land Trust, along with partners called the Calumet Land Conservation Partners, which includes Save the Dunes, were recently awarded just shy of $1 million for a climate resilience project in the Calumet region. And that spans throughout this entire map that you see here. So there are 9 focal areas that are identified in this project. And you can see in the Indiana Dunes is just one of those 9 projects. So $1 million will be going towards building climate resilience in this entire area, because I think one of the misperceptions out there is that this is just a coastal issue, right? This is just for people right along the lakeshore, just the dunes. But actually, all of this falls within the Lake Michigan watershed and impacts the, so all of that can be looked at holistically as a coastal issue. And so we're really excited. A lot of critical work will be able to get underway because of this funding. And it is based on the CLCP's CAP alignment report, which is a Conservation Action Plan alignment report, which Save the Dunes was critical in creating. So this entire concept is wouldn't have been possible if we had not sat down as a conservation community and collectively identified the threats to the ecosystems and the people that live there, and the priorities of how to address those threats and itemize those things out, and then put that all together in one cohesive report. So earlier this year, you can see in this picture, the CLCP group was awarded the Force of Nature Award for our CAP alignment report. And now that report has brought in $1 million for our region. So we're super excited. This is definitely a joint effort. This is not just a Save the Dunes thing, but we're very proud to be part of this. So Save the Dunes will actually be hiring a conservation coordinator through this project to ensure that this project takes place. The funding lasts 3 years, which is also really exciting and gives you a chance to actually make a difference, in a over a 3-year period rather than a 1 or 2 year grant. Another really big, exciting thing that just happened was the announcement of the Thrive Northwest Indiana project, which is now I'm going to forget, is it 20 million or 30 million? One of those two, very big number, project across the region to improve regional trail connectivity and also create what are called these Discover Hubs along the South Shore, along the Marquette Greenway, and it's all about connecting up into the national park. So these are just renderings. This is not what it will be. These are just examples of what it could be in our application, which Save the Dunes was written into. So we'll be doing what we always do, which is educate people about the dunes and hosting events at these places as they get built. So we're very excited, again, that these resources are coming to the community, and that Save the Dunes is being, we were contacted to early on in this application process by the community foundations who applied for this and asked if they could write us in as an education partner. So we're just proud to be a reliable, partner for them that they wanted to include in this initiative. So through all of this, one of the things that we've really doubled down on in the past year, and we'll be doing even more so in 2025, is training the next generation of dune advocates. Save the Dunes has a long and incredible history of advocacy. We have been the state lead for the Healing Our Waters Coalition for 13 years. So we know a thing or two about how to advocate, and we want to, it's not that hard actually. And we want to make sure that the community knows how to do these things and feels empowered. So the main picture there is a picture of the Barker Middle School, who's helping us with the trailhead project at our property in Michigan City. So that's just an example of localized having the young community come out and be a part of the work that we're doing. That bottom right picture is a picture of interns that we hosted last summer, and we'll be having additional interns that will host this coming year. We're visiting one of our properties, a beautiful fen in Michigan City that we own, in that picture. So, teaching people how to do it through internships. We bring folks out every time we go out to Washington. We bring constituents with us. So in that top picture, you can see a picture of somebody from the Student Conservation Association who joined us. And then we're really excited that the Legacy Foundation recently granted us a grant to train a cohort of students, young professionals from Lake County specifically. So they'll be coming along on and getting exposure on how to do local, state, and federal advocacy with us throughout the course of this year. So very, very excited to have the next generation, participating in our initiatives. And then the last thing that I was going to highlight, there's a lot that we're doing that I could talk to, but this is the last thing I'll highlight, is work around our story and our legacy. Save the Dunes is obviously, as you just heard, doing some incredible work right now. But we have this really special moment in history when we advocated and successfully established the National Lakeshore. And that was sort of against all odds, and this incredible story of grassroots advocacy that we want to make sure that story lives on and is not forgotten, and that we celebrate that. And so we have done a lot of things to dive into that history behind the scenes. You can see in this left picture, those are some of the archives that we have at our Barker House, and we've recently pulled out and put on display. We want to do, we're exploring ways that we could maybe have more of a permanent exhibit where we have actual signage to showcase some of these things. Similarly, this picture in the middle, this is actually the telegram that Save the Dunes received directly from Senator Paul Douglas when the Indiana Dunes bill passed. So you can just read what it says here. Robert Mann, Vice President of Save the Dunes Council, Senate just passed Indiana Dunes bill. Your contributions were invaluable, and I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. Paul H. Douglas. So he had to send this via telegram. I just can't get over that fact. It was a very different time when we were advocating for these things. You couldn't just shoot an email off to your representative, right? You had to travel out to Washington with paintings of the dunes and slides. And so I think this is a really special part of our history, is that the time that this took and how you did communication at that time. And so like the picture on the right is a picture of also these historic maps that we have. So anyways, what I'm trying to say, I feel like not eloquently, is that we are getting plans in place for how we want to celebrate our 75th anniversary, which is coming up in 2 years. And we really want to dive deep into our history, especially then, but also every year, and make sure that that story is alive. So those are some of the other things that we're doing in addition to all the conservation advocacy and community engagement work that we do. So lots and lots to look forward to for the upcoming year. Hopefully we'll get to do another one of those Great Lakes Odyssey expeditions. We're going to do more updates to the house. Obviously, we'll have our regular programming for people to engage, which is a good segue to the last bit of information I want to walk you through, which is how you can be part of all the great things that are happening at Save the Dunes. So first, there are so many events that we do, and I highly encourage you to check them all out. This group here, hopefully, I know I saw a lot of familiar faces and people who join us regularly for our Northwest Indiana Green Drinks. For those who are new, we do this the first Thursday of every month, and it's a really wonderful place where you can learn about what's happening in the region and ways to get involved. Has also started a Barker Seasonal Forum, so it's an in-person series that we do. You get to see all of the beautiful updates that we've done to the house in the process, and keep coming back because we keep making changes. So that happens quarterly. Right now we have a winter wellness hike series going. So that top picture is a picture of the first one that we did at the state park just a few weeks or days ago. And we had a great turnout. So it's a wonderful way to stay connected during the winter months and also stay healthy and get that fresh air. We know it's hard to get out when it's very cold. So hopefully coming with others motivates you. And there are other hikes we do throughout the year. We also have volunteer opportunities. We'll do cleanups at our property. We'll also do beach cleanups, and there's many, many ways to volunteer your time with us. And then we have ticketed events as well. So this is a picture of our Dunes Dash event. We're going to move our fall fundraiser back to the beach this fall. So we're really excited about that. That's a great way that you can support us, is coming to our ticketed events, since those funds help with our operating costs. You can also join us. So if you are not a member already, I highly encourage you to sign up and be a member. None of this work would be possible if it weren't for the generous support of our members and donors. Members get special perks like coming to our annual meeting, and they also give us legal standing so that we can do things like bring that administrative appeal forward. So we really heavily rely on members and donors to make our work possible. You can also give legacy gifts. If you want to leave the zoo in your will, things like that. Feel free to reach out to us if you have questions about any of that. It's really easy to donate. You just can go online or send us a check. So those are some of the ways that you can financially support all this great work that is happening. If your business is interested and has a giving wing, you can become a corporate partner and support us through a corporate partnership. And we also are always looking for people to come alongside us and advocate with us. There are times when we do grass tops work, which we're going directly to the people that we know and we're telling them what we need. But sometimes we need grassroots efforts where we need a lot of people to sign on and help get through a message like how critical Great Lakes Restoration Initiative funding is for our region, things like that. So I encourage you to advocate with us. You can sign on to those letters. You can reach out to your representatives directly and let them know what you care about. And we have an exciting advocacy opportunity coming up on January 28th. This is being organized by the Indiana Conservation Voters, but we're looking for individuals to come down to the Indiana State House with us just at the end of this month. So if you're interested in that, definitely reach out to Harshini or anybody on the staff and we can get you more information. And if you are looking for something a little bit more informative and less interactive, one of the great things that you can do is take advantage of all of the wonderful content that we're putting out. So you can follow us, visit our website. We also have a brand new video that'll be on our website soon that gives you an overview of what we're doing. You can follow us on our blog, which is pictured on the left here. We have a monthly newsletter. So if you're not subscribed to that, I highly encourage you to sign up for that. And then we're active on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And I put the links here and maybe we can also drop those in the chat or, they're right directly on our website. If you go to savedunes.org, they're right there at the top. So you can follow us that way. And speaking of the website, we have a lot of incredible free resources that are also available. Our award-winning Living in the Dunes guide is on our website. We also have information on how to access the dunes and recreate responsibly while you're doing it. One of the key things you can do is make sure you're not using social trails and staying on designated trails. So we have maps of several areas where you can see where the designated paths are. And the team is just cranking out these amazing fact sheets as well, which I feel like haven't gotten a lot of attention, but are really cool. So you guys should also check our resource page and see all of these wonderful fact sheets that we have. So speaking of, none of the work that is happening would be possible without the work of our incredible staff. I am so fortunate to work with the staff that I have. They've really taken everything to a new level, and it's just been a joy to work with them and to just sort of get out of their way and let them see how far they can take things, which is clearly an impressive amount. I'm also so grateful for the board and Nancy, who is the board president, and she has done so much to instill this growth mindset for our organization over the past 3 years, and certainly has been such an incredible support to me. So thank you to all of them, and thank you as well to all of our members and donors and partners. I know a lot of you are on the call today. None of this work would be possible without you as well. So that is all I prepared for today, and I'm happy to take any questions if you have them, or you can contact me. I put my information here on this last slide if you would like to reach out with any follow-up questions.
Wonderful. Thanks, Betsy. We only have one question in the chat. It is John Allen asking if any of our interns have eventually become Save the Dunes staff.
Oh, that's a great
Or
question.
yeah.
Not yet, but that is definitely one of the reasons why we do it, is so that we have a pipeline of people who understand our, our work and would hopefully be good candidates for becoming a staffer if we have an opening and need that.
Yeah, well, that was the only question. Otherwise, just some other comments about folks who attended our winter wellness hike that was on Saturday, the 28th. I will give you some dates for those if you're still listening and want to put those on your calendar here. The next one coming up is going to be on Monday, January 20th. That's going to come up very quickly. It's Martin Luther King Jr. Day, so it's a free day at the Indiana Dunes National Park. So we will be meeting at Mount Baldy, as Mount Baldy has become sort of a hot topic for the park, and I just learned a lot of fun, interesting things about Mount Baldy I want to regurgitate to everyone. And we're going to do some wave meditation and some other mindfulness activities out on the beach of Mount Baldy on the 20th. So please mark your calendars and join us for a free day at the park then. And then the last hike in that series will be on Friday, February 7th, at 4 p.m. And that's at Shirley Hines property at Ivanhoe South in Gary. So we'll be exploring the dune and swale habitat on that one. Okay, I've got another question. Would we be interested in helping preserve lakeshore at the prior state line generating plant at the Indiana-Illinois state line? They're planning on building multiple data centers there.
Oh,
No,
well, yeah, definitely send us information anytime that there is a threat. We do work on if new industry is moving into the area that would increase the amount of pollution or things like that. We do sometimes get involved, especially if it's adjacent to the national park. So I'd want to know exactly where it is before committing, but please do send that information to us. We'd love to look into it.
awesome. Let me just double check over on Facebook. It's like it lags a little on Facebook, so it's not like the presentation's not done yet on the live stream. So no comments or questions on Facebook yet, but like you said, if anyone, we've got a little bit of time, so if anyone wants to raise their hand or come off mute and ask a question, there's still some time, so. Any hand raises?
I think that Betsy, you did such an incredibly thorough job. When people don't have questions, that's really a sign that you have covered absolutely everything that they wanted to hear about. So I just want to thank you very much for being our presenter this evening. And it's just incredible the amount of accomplishments and accolades that Save the Dunes had last year. And I just want to emphasize that you and your staff are the boots on the ground, and you're the ones that really make these connections and contacts and successes possible. So thank you. I want to make an announcement that our next Green Drinks is coming up on February 6th, which is the first Thursday of the month. And hopefully we're going to be having advocacy with Harshini. She didn't turn down our invitation, so I hope that that means that she accepted. And if she's not going to do it, then I know she'll find somebody incredible to do that with and for us. And as Betsy said, this is extremely important work. For us to be in contact with our elected officials who actually write the bills, which become the laws that really help our conservation and advocacy efforts. So thank you so very much. Em, do you have anything else?
There's maybe one question. Terry, if you want to come off mute to ask, I see your hand raised.
Hello, everyone. It's Terry Stiegel. I know Betsy brought up about the state line generating. There is a lot going on over there right now. First of all, we've not been able to dig enough information up to see if they've even done a clean closure of the site over there. Is the one big thing. And that's something I think we need to really be proactive with IDEM right now. And if you guys got involved, that would be great. There's another aspect to this too, is when Beamster Boers bought the property back in 2013, they had all these great things they were going to do there, and part of their thing was looking at the Marquette plan and creating this basically public access along the shoreline over there at where state line generating was and all that. And so you think by now, let's see, we had 10 years to grow to put a bike path in, walking path, and a canopy of trees and butterfly gardens and all that, and nothing's happened. So these are other things we need to advocate for. And the reason why I think it's important, that land was all lake bed. So, and that was basically put there for the public interest and the public good. And, so there's a chance that could fall under the public trust doctrine, to where they're going to have to do something to give some of that land back to the state at least. And then that would provide opportunities for public use over there on that property. But we need people to help advocate for that if we're going to make any progress with that, because McDermott's hell-bent on putting up data centers all through that 77 acres. So it's time to get active, I guess you could say. Thank you.
And then
I think that may be a good place to end right now, unless something has come back on Facebook Live. Did anything pop up over there in the comment section?
no, we're still not done on Facebook. It's about 8 minutes behind, so
Oh my gosh, I didn't realize it took
yeah,
that long for.
it's a little bit of a lag, yeah.
Okay, great.
But
Okay.
no, there was one other question about the property on Boo Road.
If I'm thinking of the correct one, that would be the one that was, it was previously Cleveland Cliffs property. And then as part of the settlement for the ammonia cyanide spill, that was, it's 125 acres, and it was given to Shirley Hines Land Trust. And they are actively restoring the property. And then it is slated to eventually become part of the national park. So there still is some good restoration work that you can get done via these settlements as well as they come up. Thankfully, we've had a good few years here where we haven't had any, knock on wood, major spills. And hopefully that's a sign of more good things to come from industry stepping up and taking responsibility. So.
Yeah, I recognize one of our members of our Green Drinks team, and I just want to give a big shout out to Sue Webster. She was with us for a few years, and she used to do all of our press releases for us. So Sue, thank you for joining us this evening. Really special to see your happy smiling face with us this evening. So just, really from the bottom of my heart, thank you for those years when we were building up our bench strength, and you definitely helped us out. So thanks, Sue.
Feel like we're good to wrap up. Thank you everyone for joining us this evening, and please stay tuned for all the good things coming from Save the Dunes. We would love to see you both at the Barker House or at events or on our socials, keeping up to date with us. So thank you all. Have a great night. Happy New Year.